The match struck with a hiss that cut through the still desert air like a gunshot, and Annabelle watched in frozen horror as the first photograph curled at the edges, its colors bleeding into the flames. "You're erasing me, Mom," she whispered, her voice cracking like dry earth underfoot. But Chief Elena Vargas didn't look up. Her jaw set like the red rock maces outside Santa Fe, as if burning away her daughter's life was just another duty shift. In that instant, the woman who'd raised her on stories of justice and unbreakable family bonds became the architect of her invisibility, one singed memory at a time. Annabelle Vargas had always known her mother measured love in badges and blueprints. Neat, unyielding lines that mapped out right from wrong, safe from sorry. Growing up in the sun-baked sprawl of Santa Fe, New Mexico, where the Sangre de Cristo Mountains loomed like silent judges over adobe rooftops and dusty pickup trucks, Annabelle learned early that Elena's world was one of order. As the town's first female police chief, Elena Vargas commanded respect with a stare that could halt a bar brawl or console a grieving widow. She was the hero who chased down coyotes rustling cattle under full moons and mediated feuds between old Spanish land-grant families, her uniform starched crisp as the winter frost on the Rio Grande. But for Annabelle, that same steel gaze had always carried a shadow, a quiet expectation that her only child would follow the straight path, literally and figuratively, through the winding arroyos of life. It started small, those expectations. At 12, Annabelle traded her frilly Easter dresses for scuffed cowboy boots and a beat-up baseball glove, much to Elena's relief. "That's my girl," her mother would say, ruffling her dark curls while they grilled green chiles on the back patio, the scent of roasting pinyon mingling with laughter that echoed off the stucco walls. Elena's stories filled those evenings. Tales of her own rise from a beat cop in Albuquerque to chief in this quirky corner of the Southwest, where tourists snapped selfies at the Georgia O'Keeffe Museum, while locals whispered about skinwalkers in the hills. "The world don't bend for nobody, Mija," Elena would say, her voice gravelly from years of shouting orders over sirens. "You gotta stand tall or it'll knock you flat." By high school, Annabelle stood tall enough, captain of the softball team, valedictorian with dreams of studying environmental law, to protect the sacred lands her Navajo grandmother had taught her to revere. She dated the quarterback, Tommy Ruiz, because that's what small-town girls did. Even if his kisses tasted like stolen Marlboros and felt as thrilling as watching paint dry on a Mission church wall. Elena beamed at the homecoming photos, pinning one to the fridge with a turquoise magnet shaped like a chili restraw. "See? Straight as an arrow," she'd quipped to her deputies over coffee at the Cowgirl Cafe. Her pride as palpable as the steam rising from her mug. But arrows, Annabelle learned, could splinter. It happened her freshman year at the University of New Mexico in Albuquerque, amid the chaos of piñata parties and late-night study sessions in the dorms that smelled of ramen and rebellion. She met Angelina Morales in a poetry slam at the Student Union. A firecracker of a woman with auburn curls that cascaded like autumn leaves over the Sonoran desert, green eyes that sparkled with the mischief of someone who'd grown up dodging her abuela's chancla in the barrios of El Paso. Angelina was studying graphic design. Her sketchbook always open to half-formed murals of fierce Chicana icons. Her laugh a melody that cut through the thrum of bongo drums and spoken-word rants about borders and belonging. They bonded over shared silences first, the kind that spoke louder than words. Annabelle confessed her love for the quiet trails of Bandelier National Park, where ancient cliff dwellings whispered secrets of resilience. Angelina shared sketches of imagined worlds where love wasn't policed by passports or prejudices. One rainy afternoon in the student lounge, as thunder rumbled like distant artillery over the Sandia Mountains, Angelina slid her hand across the sticky table and laced her fingers with Annabelle's. No grand declaration, just the warmth of skin on skin, electric as a summer storm. "I've been waiting for someone who sees the poetry in the cracks," Angelina murmured, her Texas drawl soft as mesquite smoke. Annabelle's heart didn't just skip. It soared untethered, over the Rio Grande Valley. For the first time she felt seen, not as the chief's daughter or the straight-A prodigy, but as the woman who collected sea glass from dry riverbeds and hummed rancheras under starlit skies. Their first real date was a picnic at Tent Rocks, the hoodoos rising like ancient sentinels as they shared tamales wrapped in corn husks, Angelina's head on Annabelle's shoulder, while they watched Slot Canyon swallow the sunset. "You're my horizon," Annabelle whispered, tracing the freckles across Angelina's nose like constellations. In those moments, love wasn't a line to toe. It was a landscape to explore, wild and wondrous. Word traveled back to Santa Fe faster than a dust devil in July. Elena's deputies, loyal as ever, spotted Annabelle and Angelina holding hands at a queer art exhibit in the city, the kind of place where rainbow flags fluttered alongside prayer flags from Tibetan refugees who'd settled in the high desert. By the time Annabelle drove home for Thanksgiving in her rattling old Subaru, the air in the Vargas kitchen hung heavy as the smoke from Elena's first cigarette of the day. "Who's the girl?" her mother asked, not looking up from chopping onions for pozole, the knife's rhythm steady as a metronome. "Angelina," Annabelle replied, forcing casualness into her voice as she unpacked her duffel on the worn pine table. "She's amazing, Mom. Studies art, plays guitar like nobody's business. We're together." The knife paused, onions forgotten. Elena's eyes, sharp as the blade, fixed on her daughter. "Together how?" But the word hung there, unnecessary. Elena had chased down enough whispers in dark alleys to know the score. Annabelle swallowed, the pozole's red chili suddenly burning in her throat. "Like, in love. Real love." The silence stretched, broken only by the tick of the wall clock shaped like a Katchina doll. Then Elena set the knife down, wiped her hands on her apron, and lit another cigarette. "This town's small, Mija. People talk. And I got a reputation to uphold, not just for me but for you. What about Tommy? The future you planned?" "It's not a plan, Mom. It's me." Annabelle's voice rose, cracking the fragile peace. "Why can't you just be happy for me?" Elena's exhale was a sigh wrapped in smoke. "Happy? I raised you to be strong, not to make your life harder than it has to be. This thing. It ain't the path to peace." The argument simmered into a cold war that weekend, Elena retreating to her study lined with commendations and case files, Annabelle nursing her hurt on the back porch with a thermos of chamomile tea. She texted Angelina late into the night. "Miss you. Mom's building walls higher than the firewall." Angelina's reply lit her screen like a flare. "We'll climb 'em together, amor. Send me a pic of the stars?" Annabelle snapped a shot of the Milky Way arching over the Jemez Mountains, her thumb brushing the screen as if it could bridge the miles. Christmas came cloaked in tinsel and tension. Elena hosted the department potluck at their rambling ranch-style home on Canyon Road. The air thick with the scent of carnitas and the chatter of off-duty cops swapping stories of chases and close calls. Annabelle brought Angelina as her +1, her heart pounding like a Zia sun symbol tattooed on her wrist. A gift from Angelina, inked in a Taos parlor where the artist had blessed the needle with sage smoke. Angelina charmed the room effortlessly, her laughter drawing smiles from grizzled veterans as she strummed folk tunes on her guitar, songs of lost loves and found homes that tugged at heartstrings worn thin by service. Elena watched from the kitchen doorway, her smile as tight as her bun. Later, as snow dusted the pinyon trees outside, she pulled Annabelle aside into the den, where family photos lined the mantel. Baby Annabelle in a tiny sheriff's hat, Elena at her swearing-in ceremony, the two of them hiking the La Luz Trail with matching water bottles. "She's nice," Elena conceded, pouring them both mugs of hot cider spiked with cinnamon. "Real nice. But this? It's a phase, right? Like that time you wanted to be a vet after saving that injured roadrunner." Annabelle's grip tightened on the mug, the heat seeping through like accusation. "It's not a phase, Mom. It's who I am. Angelina. She gets me. Sees the parts you pretend aren't there." Elena's face hardened, the chief emerging over the mother. "I see plenty. I see a town that chews up difference and spits out scandal. I see my deputies side-eyeing me tomorrow, wondering if the chief's kid is why we lost that grant for the youth center. You think love fixes that?" "It fixes enough," Annabelle shot back, tears pricking her eyes like cactus spines. "For me it does." The holidays ended with a fragile truce. Hugs at the airport, Elena's "be safe," laced with unspoken pleas. But cracks deepened. Back in Albuquerque, Annabelle threw herself into her studies, interning at a legal aid clinic fighting for indigenous water rights, while Angelina's murals bloomed on underpasses, vibrant protests against erasure. They built a life in stolen weekends. Road trips to White Sands where they danced barefoot in gypsum dunes, whispering vows under a sky vast as possibility. Quiet nights in Angelina's tiny apartment, cooking migas and dreaming of a gallery in Santa Fe where Angelina could show her work without fear. Yet the calls from home grew sparse. Elena's texts were clipped. Busy with a string of burglaries. How's school? Annabelle poured her heart into letters she never sent. Words of bridges she longed to build. Then the summer before her senior year, disaster struck. Not with thunder but a whisper. It was Angelina who heard it first, from a cousin in the department's dispatch pool. Your mom's cleaning house. The cousin texted, hesitant. Not just the garage, the past. Annabelle drove home that afternoon, the Subaru's tires kicking up red dust on I-25. Her stomach knotted tighter than a lariat rope. She found Elena in the backyard, the fire pit she built for 4th of July barbecues now a pyre for the unclaimed. Photographs fluttered in the updraft. Annabelle's first communion, her high school graduation, the candid shot from that family trip to Chaco Canyon where she'd grinned toothily at the camera, wind-whipped and wild. But not just any photos, the ones with Angelina, too. Snaps from that art exhibit, their hands intertwined. A blurry selfie from the picnic, cheeks flushed with wine and wonder. All fed to the flames. What are you doing? Annabelle's voice was a raw scrape, barely audible over the crackle. Elena didn't turn, poking the fire with a poker that gleamed like her badge. Tidying up. Old stuff takes space. Those are memories, Mom. Our memories. Annabelle lunged forward, snatching at a drifting ash that might have been her face, her love. Elena's shoulders slumped, the poker clattering to the gravel. Memories that hurt you, Mija. I can't watch you throw it all away for this. The world tilted. Annabelle sank to her knees, the desert sun merciless on her back as the last photo, a Polaroid of her and Angelina kissing under a cottonwood tree, blackened and curled. In that moment, she wasn't just losing pictures. She was losing the woman who'd taught her to fight for justice, now wielding it like a weapon against her own blood. The drive back to Albuquerque blurred into a haze of taillights and tears. The radio's static-laced country tunes mocking Annabelle with lyrics about mending fences she couldn't even see. She pulled over at a roadside diner off Cerrillos Road. The neon sign flickering open 24/7, like a promise the world rarely kept. Inside, the jukebox crooned Patsy Cline, and Annabelle nursed a coffee black as her mood, scrolling through her phone's gallery, the digital ghosts Elena couldn't touch. There was Angelina midlaugh at a Dia de los Muertos parade, her face painted with marigold calaveras, the two of them silhouetted against the balloon fiesta's dawn launch, hot air rising like unspoken dreams. She called Angelina at midnight, the ringtone a soft guitar riff they'd recorded together on a whim. Hey, me soul, Angelina answered, voice husky with sleep but warm as ever. You sound like you wrestled a javelina and lost. Annabelle choked on a laugh that tasted like ash. Worse. Mom. She burned them. All the photos. Like I was some mistake to erase. The line went quiet, save for Angelina's sharp inhale. Dios mío. That's not just cold. That's cruelty dressed as care. Come home, okay? We'll figure it. Home. The word anchored her, pulling Annabelle through the dark miles to Angelina's apartment, where fairy lights strung across exposed brick walls cast a golden glow over thrift store rugs and half-finished canvases. Angelina pulled her into an embrace that smelled of lavender soap and linseed oil, holding her until the sobs subsided into shudders. You're not erasable, Angelina murmured, fingers combing through Annabelle's curls. Not to me. Not to anyone who matters. They spent the night tangled in sheets that whispered of safer harbors, talking until dawn painted the Sandia peaks in pinks and golds. Angelina sketched while Annabelle vented. Fierce lines of a woman rising from flames, phoenix-like, her features a blend of Annabelle's hazel eyes and Angelina's defiant chin. This is us, Angelina said, tapping the page. Burn what they want. We rebuild brighter. But rebuilding wasn't linear. Not in a world where love still navigated minefields. Annabelle threw herself into her final semester, her thesis on restorative justice clashing ironically with the rift at home. Elena's silence was a void, punctuated by dutiful birthday cards with $20 bills tucked inside, as impersonal as a traffic ticket. Annabelle stopped going home for holidays, opting instead for Angelina's boisterous family gatherings in El Paso, tables groaning under enchiladas and empanadas, tias pinching cheeks and demanding grandchildren that might never come in the traditional sense, but whose love wrapped around them like a serape anyway. Graduation came in May, under a sky so blue it hurt, the Unum Arena buzzing with caps and gowns in cardinal red. Annabelle walked the stage, diploma in hand, scanning the crowd for familiar faces. Tommy Ruiz was there, clapping from the alumni section. His life a neat package of law school and a fiancée from back home. Elena, absent. A text arrived mid-ceremony. Proud of you. Shift ran long. Love, Mom. Annabelle's thumb hovered over reply, then pocketed the phone. Angelina waited in the throng below. Bouquet of desert wildflowers clutched like a talisman. Her whoop piercing the applause as Annabelle descended. That summer they chased freedom on the open road. Angelina's beat-up van loaded with easels and law books, pitching tents from Big Bend to the Grand Canyon. They hiked slot canyons where echoes amplified secrets, skinny dipped in hidden springs under star-pricked skies, their laughter a rebellion against the weights they carried. Someday, Annabelle said one night by a campfire in Zion, embers mirroring the ache in her chest, I'll make her see. Not for her sake, for mine. Angelina nodded, her green eyes reflecting the flames. And if she doesn't? We keep walking anyway. Together. They returned to Santa Fe in August, not as visitors but settlers. Annabelle landed a job at the state's Attorney General's office, specializing in civil rights cases that pitted corporate greed against sacred sites. Angelina rented a studio space in the Rail Yard district, her murals gaining buzz in local galleries, vibrant tapestries of queer latinx lives woven into the fabric of the Southwest, challenging the straight-laced narratives Elena's world clung to. They found an apartment on Garcia Street, a cozy casita with Vegas beams and a portal overlooking acre-irrigated gardens, where bougainvillea bloomed riotous pinks against earthen walls. Life settled into a rhythm as steady as the adobe drumbeat of the Indian market. Mornings began with coffee on the portal, Annabelle reviewing briefs while Angelina sketched over huevos rancheros. Evenings were for live music at the tea house, where they'd sway to indie folk bands, Angelina's head on Annabelle's shoulder, the world fading to a hum. Friends gathered. A mix of activists from the ACLU and artists from the Harwood Foundation, sharing stories of small victories. A trans deputy Elena had mentored coming out to the force, a land-back initiative reclaiming acres for the Pueblo. Yet the ghost of Elena lingered, a chill wind through the Chiles. Annabelle drove by the police station on her commutes, the flagpole's stars and stripes snapping like accusations. She volunteered at community outreach events, crossing paths with her mother's deputies who offered awkward nods and housed the chief's girl, as if she were still 12 and gap-toothed. One evening at a fundraiser for the Santa Fe Rape Crisis Center, Elena appeared unannounced, her uniform traded for a simple blouse and slacks, badge pinned like a talisman. Annabelle spotted her across the room, pouring Chardonnay for survivors' advocates, her laugh forced but genuine in flashes. Heart hammering, Annabelle approached, Angelina's hand steady in hers. Mom, she said, the word a bridge or a bomb. Elena's eyes flicked to their joined hands, then back up, softening fractionally. Annabelle, you look good. Both of you. Small talk stumbled like a drunk on Canyon Road. Weather, work, the latest scandal at the Roundhouse. Angelina excused herself to the buffet, giving them space, her absence a vacuum Elena rushed to fill. I've been meaning to call. About the photos. That was wrong. Heat of the moment. Annabelle's laugh was bitter as unsweetened chocolate. Heat of the moment? You torched my life, Mom. Our life. Elena's fingers tightened on her glass. I was scared. For you. This town. It chews up folks who don't fit the mold. Remember Maria Lopez? The teacher who came out. Lost her job, her home. I didn't want that for you. And erasing me fixes it? Makes me straight. Annabelle's voice rose, drawing glances from nearby tables. I'm your daughter, not a case file to close. The room's murmur swelled, a tide pulling them under. Elena's face crumpled, the chief's armor cracking. I know. God, I know. I love you too much to watch you break. Annabelle reached out, tentative, her hand hovering. Love doesn't destroy, Mom. It holds. They parted with a hug that felt like fragile pottery. Elena's whisper. We'll talk. Promise. Lingering like smoke. Hope flickered, tentative as a match in wind. But promises in Santa Fe were as fickle as monsoon rains. Weeks later, the betrayal landed like a flash flood. Annabelle's phone buzzed during a deposition, a forwarded email from an anonymous source. A department memo, Elena's signature bold at the bottom. It outlined enhanced community standards for the youth mentorship program, Subtle code for sidelining queer-inclusive materials, citing family values, to appease conservative council members eyeing the next election. Buried in the attachments. A redacted report on internal morale, referencing personal distractions in leadership families, with Annabelle's name blurred but unmistakable. The pieces clicked. Elena's talk had been a ploy, a softening before the strike. She'd leaked the memo to allies, trading her daughter's privacy for political armor, ensuring the program stayed traditional, while painting Annabelle as the liability. Rage boiled hot as geothermal springs at Jemez. She sold me out, Annabelle gasped to Angelina that night, the email glowing accusatory on her laptop. For votes. For her damn legacy. Angelina's arms enveloped her, fierce and unyielding. Then we fight back. Not with fire, with truth. The counteroffensive brewed in the casita's kitchen, over pots of simmering frijoles and stacks of legal pads scribbled with strategies. Annabelle, ever the lawyer, drafted a response. An op-ed for the Santa Fe New Mexican, exposing the memo's underbelly without naming names, framing it as a broader assault on inclusive justice in a state still healing from colonial scars. Angelina illustrated it. A stark line drawing of a badge cracking under the weight of a rainbow-woven serape, submitted anonymously to the paper's arts desk. Publication hit like a nor'wester, whipping up a storm across the high desert. Social media ignited, hashtags like Justice for All and trending from Taos to Truth or Consequences, queer activists and Pueblo leaders amplifying the call. Protests bloomed outside City Hall, signs reading "Badges don't erase love," held by allies in Zia medallions and pride pins. Elena's office became a siege of reporters, her no-comment pressers as terse as telegraph wire. Annabelle watched from afar, her inbox flooding with support, messages from old classmates, even Tommy Ruiz, who'd come out as bi last year and pledged his firm's pro bono hours. But the personal toll carved deep. Sleepless nights blurred into dawn patrols of her own heart, questioning if blood truly thickened or thinned under pressure. Angelina anchored her, their love a quiet revolution. Mornings tracing tattoos like maps to tomorrow, evenings where Angelina's guitar wove ballads of unbroken spirits, Annabelle harmonizing in a voice raw with reclamation. The confrontation came unbidden, on a crisp October afternoon when the aspens turned gold along the turquoise trail. Annabelle was in the office, poring over affidavits for a water rights case, when her assistant buzzed. "Chief Vargas is here. Says it's urgent." Elena's arrival was a force, uniform impeccable, face a mask of exhaustion etched by flashbulbs and fallout. She declined coffee, pacing the narrow space like a cougar in a cage. "You did this," she said, not accusation but fact, slapping a printout of the op-ed on Annabelle's desk. Stirred the pot till it boiled over. Annabelle leaned back, stealing her gaze. "You lit the fire first, Mom. That memo? It wasn't policy, it was personal. You threw me under the bus to save your seat." Elena's breath hitched, the mask slipping. "It was strategy. The council's breathing down my neck. Budget cuts, that cartel uptick from the border. They wanted assurances. Family first, they said. I thought I was protecting us." "Us? Or just your image?" Annabelle's voice trembled, the hurt a live wire. "You burned my photos, leaked my life, all to play the hero. What about my heroism? Loving who I love, fighting for what's right, that's not enough." Tears welled in Elena's eyes, unbidden as rain in drought. She sank into the chair opposite, hands folding like prayer over her knees. "It's more than enough. It's everything. I was wrong, Mija. Raised on machismo tales from my pa, badges over hearts. But seeing you stand with her, it broke something open in me. The memo was my last wall, crumbling now." The admission hung, fragile as a spider's silk across a canyon. Annabelle searched her mother's face. The lines of laughter faded, the resolve softened by regret. "Then tear it down. All of it. Come to the rally tomorrow. Stand with us." Elena's nod was slow, seismic. "I will. If you'll have me." Angelina met Annabelle at the door that evening, flour-dusted from experimenting with sapapillas, her smile a beacon. "How'd it go? World end, or just the one we knew?" Annabelle pulled her close, breathing in the yeast and yeast of home. "It's shifting, like plates under the desert. Scary but maybe fertile." The rally dawned clear and cold, Palace Avenue thrumming with hundreds. Drummers from the Tewa Pueblos, poets reciting Lorca in Spanish, families waving flags that blended the Zia sun with rainbow stripes. Annabelle spoke from the stage, her voice steady as the Rio Grande. Justice isn't selective. It doesn't burn what it can't control. It's the hand that holds, the heart that heals, across lines of blood and badge. As applause swelled, Elena stepped forward, mic in hand, her presence a ripple through the crowd. Whispers hushed. Cameras zoomed. "I'm Chief Elena Vargas," she began, voice gravel over glass. "And I'm here because my daughter taught me what true law looks like. Not codes on paper but courage in flesh. I failed her once, twice if I'm honest, but today I stand corrected. With her. With all of you." The roar was thunderous, hugs exchanged like holy water. Annabelle met her mother's eyes across the podium. The bridge rebuilt plank by plank. Angelina squeezed her hand, whispering, "Your horizon just widened." Winter softened into spring, the thaw mirroring their mending. Elena visited the casita for Sunday dinners, tentative at first, awkward silences filled with Angelina's stories of El Paso ghost towns, Elena's tales of busting moonshiners in the Manzanos. Photos re-emerged, not from ashes but archives. Elena digging out forgotten negatives from her attic, developing them in a darkroom hobby she'd abandoned post-divorce. She framed one of Annabelle and Angelina at graduation, hanging it in the den beside her own commendations, a quiet altar to acceptance. Angelina's first solo show opened at the Governor's Gallery, walls alive with pieces born of their journey. A triptych of flames birthing flowers, titled From Ceniza to Corazon. Elena attended, arm linked with Annabelle's, her toast at the after-party simple. To artists who paint truth, and daughters who live it. Yet drama lingered, shadows in the light. Whispers persisted in the department. Loyalists grumbling about the chief gone soft. Elena faced a no-confidence vote in council, her testimony unflinching. "I've enforced the law. Now I live it. Equity starts at home." She won narrowly, but the toll showed in gray hairs multiplying like stars. Annabelle's cases gained traction, a landmark ruling restoring water to the Navajo Nation, her name in headlines beside Elena's evolving legacy. Love deepened too. Angelina proposing on a hike to the Slot Canyons, ring a turquoise band engraved with Mi Horizonte, dropped to one knee amid echoing red walls. Annabelle's yes echoed back, infinite. But the true test came in June, as wildfires licked the Jemez slopes, evacuations turning Santa Fe into a convoy of taillights. Elena coordinated from the command center, Annabelle volunteered at shelters, Angelina painted murals on sandbag barriers, messages of resilience for displaced families. In the chaos, a call crackled over the radio. A hiker trapped in a box canyon, smoke choking the escape. It was Elena who mobilized, but Annabelle who recognized the voice on the line. Her old softball coach, Maria Lopez, the teacher Elena had cited in fear. "Mom," Annabelle urged, bursting into the tent. "It's Maria. She's out there because she was scouting trails for a queer youth retreat. You have to save her, not as chief but as us." Elena's eyes met hers, decision forged in firelight. She donned gear, chopper blades whirring like fate. Hours later she returned, soot-streaked. Maria bundled in a blanket beside her. The reunion was tear-streaked, Maria's hug enveloping Elena. "You came. After everything. Family's bigger than blood," Elena murmured, glancing at Annabelle across the triage cots. The fire's aftermath scarred the land but not the spirit. Regrowth promised in charred piñons sprouting green nubs. Much like the Vargas family. Elena retired the next spring, her farewell speech at the Meow Wolf a masterclass in vulnerability. 25 years chasing shadows taught me the real criminals are silence and shame. My badge goes to the next generation. May they wear it with heart. She traded the uniform for consulting gigs, teaching de-escalation workshops laced with personal anecdotes of walls torn down. Annabelle and Angelina's wedding unfolded in July under a canyon road portal. Fairy lights twinkling like fireflies against adobe arches. Guests spanned worlds. Elena's deputies mingling with Angelina's teas. Pueblo elders blessing the union with cornmeal and songs. Vows exchanged amid laughter and tears. Annabelle promising to walk every horizon with you. Angelina vowing to paint our story in colors that never fade. Elena walked Annabelle down the aisle, her arm steady, whispering, "You lead now, Mija." I'm just along for the ride. Honeymoon called them to the Sea of Cortez, where waves lapped like lullabies and sunsets bled orange into the Pacific. They snorkeled coral reefs teeming with life, a metaphor for their own resurgence. Fragile ecosystems thriving against odds. Back home they adopted a rescue dog, a lanky mutt named Sol from the Española shelter, his wagging tail a daily reminder of second chances. Years folded like origami, each crease a chapter. Annabelle rose to lead the AG's Civil Rights Division, arguing before the Supreme Court on cases that echoed her mother's old battlegrounds. Equality not as exception but essence. Angelina's murals scaled national stages, a TED Talk on art as activism going viral. Her studio a hub for young queer artists fleeing red state shadows. Elena became their biggest fan, framing prints in her new Adobe on the outskirts, where she gardened chiles and volunteered at the LGBTQ+ center. Her stories now cautionary tales of love's long road. Conflict didn't vanish. It evolved softer edges. A council bid for Elena's old seat tempted her back. Whispers of old guard versus progress testing alliances. Annabelle mediated, dinners turning tense over debates on policing reform. Elena's defensiveness flaring like old embers. I changed, she'd insist, fork paused mid-bite. But the job's not fairy tales. And neither's family, Annabelle countered gently. We meet in the middle, or we build a wider one. Angelina's quiet wisdom sealed it. A family retreat to Chaco Canyon. Tents pitched among the great houses where ancestors aligned stones with solstices. Under a canopy of stars stories flowed. Elena's regrets. Annabelle's fears of history repeating. Angelina's dreams of legacy beyond blood. Dawn broke with a pact. Elena endorsing the progressive candidate. Campaigning with Annabelle at her side. Her presence a bridge over divides. The election night watch party pulsed with energy. The casita alive with tamales and tequila shots. Victory tallied, Elena raised a glass. To horizons we couldn't see until we did. Tears flowed freer than the acequias, hugs mending what words couldn't. Decades end found them changed yet rooted. Annabelle at 38, mentored interns with Elena's fire and Angelina's grace. Her book on queer justice in the Southwest a bestseller dog-eared in law libraries. Angelina, 39, curated a museum exhibit on Lading's love stories, her keynote drawing tears from crowds who'd hidden their own. Elena, 65, gray fully claimed but spirit unbowed, penned a memoir. Badge of the Heart, chapters on the daughter who schooled her in salvation. One autumn eve as leaves skittered across Canyon Road like confetti, they gathered for Annabelle's surprise. A gallery wall in the casita, photos spanning eras. The burned ones restored via scans and stories, new ones layered atop, wedding candid Sol Mizumi, Elena cradling a grandpup on the way, via surrogate, a joyful addition to their chosen kin. Angelina strummed a new tune, lyrics of ashes to altars, Annabelle's voice weaving harmony. Elena traced a faded image of young Annabelle, hazel eyes alight. I destroyed these once, she said softly. Thought I was saving you. But you saved me. Annabelle leaned into her, the circle complete. We save each other. Every day. In Santa Fe's eternal dance of light and shadow, where mountains cradled secrets and deserts bloomed defiant, love proved not a fragile flame but a hearth warm, enduring, shared. Horizons stretched endless, photos preserved not in frames but flesh. A mother, a daughter, a beloved, bound in the unerasable ink of grace.